Hi family, we're going to start a new playlist today called, I don't know, we'll call some of my favorite music. And, I don't even know where to begin because, well, yeah, well, we'll just start somewhere, right? Let's start with the 20th century. And this song here is, it's in Spanish. And its title is No soy de aquí, no soy de allá. And the artist is from Argentina, very famous, internationally famous, and beautiful artist by the name of Facundo Cabral. And I'll include a link in the show notes. You can like and subscribe and share his channel and the beautiful things that he's created. And I just feel this is most appropriate to share because this came up on my, I have this song saved, the MP3 saved to a thumb drive, and it's in my car. And it came on in my car the other day. I was like, I forgot I even saved that song. And something kind of clicked, or like a little, put this in the back of your mind for a second and ponder it later. So I woke up this morning and I began to ponder. And so I went and had a look at it's a video here on YouTube. And it's great because I believe you can click on the subtitles and you can see the subtitles in either English or whatever language. But then the lyrics to the song are also included in the show notes of his video. So I just want to share with you his sort of interlude to repeat his words, which are very profound and very timely. And I believe it'll touch your heart. So here we go. This is the prelude to the song. It says, I like those who are silent, and I like those who sing. And from so much of walking away, well, okay, these are like, how do I say? Let me start over. This is like a machine translation. And then also, even if you translate it directly, like with a person, some words won't translate because nothing is said in one version of Spanish. Every country has its own twist and its own flavor, and then when you convert that back into English, well, some things won't come out very clear. So just use your imagination as we move along here. I'm just going to read from the machine translation. It says, I like those who are silent, and I like those who sing. And from so much walking by myself, from so much solitude, from so long on this path of the hero's journey, spent in solitude and without the interaction of others to necessarily influence that walk. Of course, you know, we will meet and we will have others influence us for sure. But ultimately, it's the walk that we do alone, right? Without the baggage, without the relationships, the time that we spend alone on the mountain, for instance, you know, these rites of passage. So that's a little, I hope, fills in the blank from the machine translation. So he says, and from walking so much, I like what happens to me. Things like this happen to me, although it's not important to go around telling everyone of all the things that happen to me. Because one does not live alone, and what happens to one is happening to the world. This, you see how this kind of follows up to the recent post I did on natural law and the Hermetic principles. So the maestro goes on here to say that only reason and cause, because everything is so perfect, because God is perfect. Hang on a second, I gotta sorry, I had to turn a noise off on my phone. And then he says, after says the perfect God, this perfect God who moves some stars when I pluck a flower. So if there is one, there are two. And then he goes on to say, I knew about the devil the night that I said no to the hungry. Said no to the hungry. So what does that mean? That I said no to the hungry, to the one who has the hungry soul, the one who has the insatiable void, the quintessential broken heart, the proverbial shattered psyche, the black hole of emotional need that will suck the life out of any who dare enter into such relations. This is what he refers to as the devil. Who has not walked alone, has not gone through the rites of passage to seek to make themselves whole. This is a profound maestro. I hope you get a chance to listen to some more of his works. This is my favorite song that he wrote. He said, I knew about the devil the night, and I said no to the hungry. It means to say this beautiful guys sitting on stage creating all this beautiful music. You can imagine all the women that are up there. Ah. If I can quote Eddie Murphy, back in the 80s, he was talking about Marvin Gaye and, all the singers, and the women were up at the front of the stage. And the Beatles, too. Remember the women literally ripping their hair out and screaming and crying and just in a mass psychosis. The fan club of the Beatles, and, well, let's say the fan club of this man here. And he said no to the hungry, no to those who have not walked alone, because they are the hungry devils of the night. It's really profound. All right, and then his prelude to the song here goes on to say, I also knew that the night, well, the straight up translation says, I also knew that night, that the devil is the Son of God. So he's saying, I know that night. I know that darkness. And I know that the devil is the Son of God. I did a video on that the other day, didn't I? Yes, I did. Well, not the other day. It was a few weeks ago, I reckon. I don't even remember what I called that video, but I was making reference to the story of Job and the devil, and how the devil and God were conspiring to create the night, to create the darkness for the humble and fearful and loyal servant of God named Job. So you see now what he's saying in essence. Well, this is his words, but what underlies this is that he knows that who he is. There goes my phone again. Sorry, I gotta turn this noise off. He says, he's saying, I know, I'm everything. I am that I am. Yo soy, que yo soy. And that the devil is the Son of God. So I should not eschew, or I should not judge it, or point at it and say that it's outside of me, but rather that it is part of me, because I too am a son of God, right? Or I too am a child of God. But you see, this is the masculine version of the wisdom of the earth, right? It's profound. I also knew that night, and I knew that the devil is the Son of God. So he's saying, if I'm a son of God, and I reject the devil, I'm rejecting myself. And if that's the feedback I'm putting out into the universe, what is going to come back? Interesting. So, in his prelude to the song, he goes on to say, I walk alone through life with a tone and dominant sort of vibration. So he's saying, I am that I am. I'm all these possibilities, right? But that my dominant frequency is to be a modest singer, right? A humble maestro. Modestly a singer, without pretending to teach. Because if the world is round, I don't know what it is to go forward. This is starting to come to me now, why this popped into the field, right? It's this reference, like all the stuff I've been talking about, like, or not talking about, because I don't presume to be a teacher. The only thing I know is I know nothing. But I'm sharing this with you modestly to say about the flat earth and the linear timeline, the fake time of Caesar's calendar in this case, or pick a calendar, any calendar. Things move in cycles. This refers also to the prophecies of the ancestors, the Chicana, and so many other things that I've shared over this last, I don't know, year or 4. Let me say this again, because if the world is round, now, if you didn't see my flat earth theory, you better, or I don't know what I called it. There's something in my playlist somewhere about the flat earth. Look, drop your perspectives from the human being eyeball or even something taking a picture from outer space. Drop all these perspectives and consider that which our ancestors knew. I'm going to just leave it at that, because I'm not going to get into a pissing contest with any of the flat earthers, right? I'm just not. Like I said, look at my video on that and then ponder that. And then if you have any questions, you can post a comment and I'll do my best to respond. But I don't like to talk about things that are freaking obvious. I like to explore the things that are more subtle, esoteric, spiritual. This is what I find intriguing. Whereas it's been my experience that the collective consciousness is the proverbial cat who's chasing the red dot on the floor. Who's holding the laser? Let me say it last time here, because this is important. He said, because if the world is round, then I don't know what it is to go forward. Walk and walk. Always walking. With no reason but to walk. No purpose, no end point, no fixed ideas, no expectations. No trepidations, no. Just walk. Just do it. Nike, by the way, didn't come up with that slogan. No, they didn't. Just walk. That's what he says. I did not come to explain to the world. I just came to play, says this maestro. This is his prelude to this profoundly beautiful song. Incredible, incredible. I don't want to judge the man. I want to tell the man. My condition is life. And my way to sing and tell life. This is my way of walking. Sorry, the flies are really bad with the mosquitoes and flies everywhere. Oh, but there we are. That's why all the expats run out of this place long before the rains come. So you see, if he's telling, like, he's telling, like, if he was to have an encounter with me, he says, look, whatever's going on with me, this is life. This is the condition of life. This is the bitter and the sweet. This is the truth and the false. This is just life. It's the polarity. But when I sing, and then I tell life, this is my way of walking, without those expectations and commitments, obligations. I might have mentioned a little bit about this. I mentioned a little bit about this. I believe it could have been perhaps in February 2020. I think maybe. Yeah. Sure. Because it was around this Valentine's Day, and I remember it was right before I left Ecuador. But I might have mentioned in there somewhere, perhaps. I know I mentioned it several times privately to people who came to me asking for advice during their existential life crisis. It was just it just was on the horizon for things to fall into this way, that people were going to get divorced and relationships were going to fall apart, and people who you didn't ever think would split up, and because it's that time where we walk as though we want to be the self-master, to become the maestro of our, the captain of our fate, the master of our soul. So he's taken back and he's telling life, this is my way of walking, and whatever comes, que sera, sera. Now he goes on, I believe this might be the beginning of the lyrics to the song. Let me see. Yeah. He goes on to say he arrived to Tandil. That's T, like in tango, Alpha November, Delta India, Lima. That's, I suppose, a name of a town in Argentina. He says, one day I arrived to Tandil and I met an old man that, or rather whom, in the absence of intelligence, he, the old man, turned out to be very wise. I asked the old man about Jesus one night. And it goes on to say, to the cute old man, I met him right there and asked him about the Jesus, about the Christ consciousness. The embodied Christ consciousness. The Christos. The Jesus character, as they came to be programmed to believe primarily throughout the Americas when the Catholic Church took over, and the Roman Catholic Church with the Spanish-speaking Jesus Cristo. Jesus Christ, I think, right? Okay, so that guy. And so he said to the cute old man, I met him right there and I asked him about this Jesus character. Like, he did not waste a minute. At the moment that he arrived in Tandil and met this old man, he did not waste a minute. Once he saw this old man was wise, he asked him right there. When the old man then, he says, reached out and gave me a mirror, a matupsum, an in Lakesh. Now I'm going to just read the rest of it for brevity's sake, directly as it's translated without facilitating the translation. Okay, I'm gonna just let you know that when they talk about it, they're actually referring to a he or a she, but that depends. In Argentina, it could be he or she, or it could be it. So if it's previously talking about Jesus, when then the next sentence it says it's referring to Jesus, which means him in this case. But rather it is it, because in reality it's ometeotl in the Nahuatl language, the father, mother, creator, the feminine, masculine, and that which they create me, their child. So after he reached out and received the mirror that the cute old man gave him, I dance with my song and not with the one they play for me. I am not freedom, but I am the one who provokes it. If I already know the way, why I would walk to the other side? If I like freedom, why am I going to live as a slave? Choose. I always choose more than for me, for my brother. And if I have chosen to be an eagle, it was not for love of the worm. I prefer to go by foot and not on a borrowed horse. Someone for an apple forever remained in debt. Let me say, it's just, sorry, you get it. Even if you borrow so much as an apple, you're in debt, esoterically speaking. Always arrives first the one who goes lighter, without the blame, shame, debt, guilt, fear, woulda, coulda, shoulda. You know, family, I talk about this all the time. The day that I die, you will not have to use the scale. Recall, that wasn't too long ago. We just talked about, didn't we? I don't remember the name of the video. Something about suicide or the Bardos or something. One of those. Why are we so afraid to die kind of videos. Excuse me. Tons of mold here. Pardon me while I fetch myself a cup of tea and give you a chance to ponder the profound beauty, universal truth unconditional love and holistic intelligence. Of this maestro. It's profound. I'm so grateful. Yeah, and I'm getting a little choked up, honestly. It's a little emotion too, because I'm gonna just spit it out. Rafa. Rafa. This one's for you. Has to be. Wow. Pardon me. I don't know where I left off. Choose, I always choose more for me, for my brother. And if I have chosen to be an eagle, it was for love of the worm or not. I prefer to go by foot and not on a borrowed horse. That's where we left off. Always arrives. Oh, now I see also another emotional trigger coming up in here, because this has to do with what Fanny saw in the dream about me being assassinated. So yeah, I'm just letting you know this really resonates with me, family, on multiple levels. The day that I will die, the day that I die, you will not have to use the scale. Mat, the feather in your heart, remember? Well, to wake a singer with a milonga, it's enough. I don't know for sure, but I believe a milonga is a type of a stringed instrument that is famous in that area of Argentina. Could be wrong. Check it out. It says, to wake a singer with a milonga, it's enough. I face the enemy and turn my back on the good comment. Because the one who accepts a compliment begins to be dominated. The man caresses the horse to ride it. Sorry if I went overboard and I got a little too moral, like too moralistic, or, too principled, if I made anybody uncomfortable because I'm not politically correct. Nobody can give advice. No man is so old. I put the sun on my shoulder